Welcome to our deep dive into Words of Radiance,
Oh, yeah.
the second book in Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight archive.
Yes,
And this one is intense.
it is, yeah.
So we've got an expert on the Cosmere with us
Yeah.
today to
Absolutely.
guide us through this one.
Absolutely.
So welcome.
Thanks for having me. Let's jump right in. This book picks up a couple years after the events of the Wave Kings.
Perfect. And Chapter 1, A Tale of Two Cities. We start off right away with Shallan Devar, and she's sailing to the Shattered Plains with Jasna Kholin.
Yeah, Shallan's on this journey to try and become Jasna's ward so she can steal a soulcaster.
Sure, of course.
And it's a pretty wild ride across the ocean. And then she also runs into, I think, one of the first big creatures that we see in this book, which is a living santhid.
Oh, right.
Which, sailors think is just a myth.
Yeah. It seems like every time we check in with Shallan, there's some larger-than-life creature.
Oh, there will be many more.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. In Chapter 2, we get back to Kaladin. He's now free from slavery.
Yes, although he's free, but he's sort of burdened now with responsibility.
Right, and he's tasked with training bridgemen.
Yeah, as soldiers. And it's a duty that he embraces, but he also kind of resents.
It's like he's traded one set of chains for another, right?
Exactly, yeah. And as he's training these men, you can really see his past trauma resurfacing. He starts to see the Parshendi not just as enemies, but as individuals and, remember back to his time as a soldier and the Parshendi he killed.
And that internal conflict, I mean, the guilt and the need to protect, it seems like it's going to be a major theme.
It absolutely is. And then we shift to Dalinar. In Chapter 3, he's been receiving these visions, these strange, powerful glimpses into the past, and he starts to see a pattern, and he really thinks that the key to understanding them lies in that ancient text, The Way of Kings.
And Dalinar's always been this fascinating character because he's such a warrior, but he's also deeply spiritual.
Yes.
Driven by this need to understand, something bigger than himself.
Absolutely, and these visions push him to make some pretty bold moves. So in Chapter 4, he declares his right to rule and his intention to actually refound the Knights Radiant.
And I imagine the Elitha High Princes did not take that well.
That did not.
Seems like he's stepping on a lot of toes.
Yeah, they see it as this power grab, but Dalinar really believes it's the only way to save Roshar from the Voidbringers.
Oh, high stakes.
Yes.
Well, then in Chapter 5, Ideals, we see Kaladin kind of struggling with those same ideals as he starts to show that he's a windrunner.
It's not really a smooth transition for him. He's wrestling with his powers, his earths, and his place in the world. And then, of course, his spren, Selfrina, is really pushing him to embrace these new abilities.
And it's so interesting how his relationship with Sol is evolving,
Yeah.
She's not just a guy, she's like a friend.
Right.
She's a confidant. She's funny.
Yeah. And Shallan faces her own challenge, I guess, in Chapter 6, The Tower. She's trying to adjust to life on board Jasna's ship, and she's still caught between wanting to be this good student, but then also she needs to keep her true motives hidden.
And she's haunted by her past.
Yeah.
The secrets, her family, why she even went to Jasna in the first place.
Right. And it's in this chapter where her spren pattern makes this dramatic entrance, like manifests for the first time in the physical realm.
It's so interesting how different her dynamic is with Pattern compared to like Kaladin and
Oh, yeah. They're like night and day. Pattern is a lot more cryptic. He's like a puzzle that Shallan has to figure out, just like everything else in her life.
So in Chapter 7, Connection, we go back to Dalinar. He's attempting to unite those high princes, and he sends Adolin to challenge them all to duels.
Yeah, it's a very risky move, but he's kind of desperate because he feels like the high princes need to put aside their differences and unite against this common enemy.
And I'm sure they're not having it.
They see right through his plan, which just makes Dalinar think, you know what, something more drastic has to be done.
And then in Chapter 8, Storms, Shian's ship is hit by a high storm.
Yeah, every Sanderson book gotta have a high storm scene.
Of course.
Always leads to some chaos.
What happens to Shallan?
Well, it ends up being a really big turning point for her because she's forced to confront her fears and actually use her powers to protect herself and others on the ship.
So trial by fire, literally.
Exactly. And then during all this chaos, she also has this weird encounter with this mysterious woman who gives her a cryptic warning.
Mysterious women, cryptic warnings. It's Sanderson. I'm hooked.
And that's just the first 8 chapters.
I cannot wait to see what happens.
Oh, it's going to get
Yeah.
crazy.
This is good.
Yeah. back to Words of Radiance.
Okay.
We're at Chapter 9, the Tower. So we had the storm,
Right.
and we're kind of dealing with the aftermath of that. So where's Shallan? What's going on?
What's going on with Shell?
Well, she's in a bit of a predicament because Jasna, who everyone presumes is dead after that high storm,
Right.
has entrusted her with this super important task protecting her notebook, this very special notebook that's filled with all of Jasna's research. And it has all these secrets about the Voidbringers and the ancient history of Roshar.
That sounds like a heavy burden,
It is.
especially for someone who's still trying to figure out where she fits in.
Absolutely. And, she's still planning to steal from Jasna, so there's that.
Yeah, moral dilemma.
Absolutely, yeah. So in Chapter 10, Honor is dead. We're back to the Shattered Plains with Kaladin.
Yeah.
And he's facing a challenge of his own. He's got to duel a shard bearer.
Oh boy, that's never good news.
No, but Kaladin is, he's skilled.
Right.
But is he ready for that kind of fight?
Yeah. He's good, but is he that good?
Right. And he's determined to prove himself, to show that he's more than just, a Dark Eyes. But he also has this aversion to shard blades.
Right, of course. And
That's, all the pain and suffering they can inflict.
that just adds a whole other level of tension to this duel.
Yeah.
And I think the outcome of this duel is pretty important, right, for Kaladin.
It has huge consequences for his future.
Yeah. In Chapter 11, the contest, Dalinar's dealing with those high princes refusing to participate in the duels.
Right.
And he's coming up with a new plan. He always seems to be, 2 steps ahead.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So he plans this grand feast and has this unconventional competition.
What does that even mean?
Well, he challenges the high princes to this, game of strategy and skill.
Oh, okay.
It's designed to test their leadership
Okay.
and their ability to work together.
That's smart. Clever way to get his message across without, being a jerk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 12, the most important step. We're back to Shallan.
Oh, good.
She's still on her journey across the ocean, and she's starting to dig into Jasna's research.
Okay.
And you really see, her artistic side come out, her scholarship
Yeah.
really starting to blossom here, as she's trying to decipher these ancient texts.
It does seem like Jasna's influence is rubbing off on her a little bit.
It is. She's not just trying to survive anymore, she's actually seeking knowledge. She wants to understand the world around her.
That's cool.
And as she's learning more about the Voidbringers and the history of the Knights Radiant, she's really starting to question everything she thought she knew.
It's like she's on a journey of self-discovery, literally and figuratively.
Absolutely. And her journey takes this unexpected turn in Chapter 13, the Ghostbloods.
Okay.
Remember that mysterious woman from the High Storm?
Yeah, the one who vanished.
Well, she's a member of the Ghostbloods, this super secret organization that's been around for centuries, and they're very interested in Shallan and her abilities.
I love the secret organizations.
Always adds a little mystery and danger.
Yeah, good.
So in Chapter 14, To Kill, we're back with Kaladin, who's kind of facing the consequences of, what happened with the duel, and he's given this terrifying new assignment.
Does it involve protecting Dalinar?
You know it. Dalinar can sense that there's a growing threat against him, so he tasks Kaladin with becoming his personal bodyguard.
Ooh.
And Kaladin doesn't take this lightly, especially with his, mixed feelings about Dalinar.
Right, and now he's right in the thick of it with all these high princes.
Oh yeah, he's in the middle of it now.
Causing trouble.
For sure.
Yeah. So then, in Chapter 15, the diagram, it's revealed that Shallan has a little secret of her own.
She does. She's got a hidden talent
What is it?
that she's been trying to suppress. She's a light weaver.
Oh, well, okay.
Which means she can manipulate light, create illusions.
Okay.
It's a powerful ability.
But dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Right, because you can use it for bad.
Absolutely. And so, this discovery really adds a whole new layer to her character.
Yeah.
She's not just a scholar and an artist.
Right.
She's also a potential threat.
That's a scary combination. So no wonder the Ghostbloods are interested.
Right. They see her potential for both good and evil. So how will she use these powers? What will she do? What sacrifices is she willing to make?
This is good stuff.
It's getting intense.
Okay, so we're back, and we're ready for this final section of Words of Radiance. Things are moving pretty quickly now.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this all wraps up.
It's pretty crazy. So we're at Chapter 16, The Assassin, and we're thrown right back into the action. Seth is back, and this time he's targeting Dalinar's son, Adolin.
Yeah, I remember this heart-stopping moment. You're not sure if he's going to make it.
Adolin's really got to use all of his skill with the blade, but I think what this confrontation really shows us is how complex Seth is.
Oh, interesting. How so?
He's bound by this oath to obey, right? Whoever holds his stone, he's this tool of destruction.
Mhm.
But I think there's this real sense of tragedy to him, this conflict, between his duty and this desire to be free.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's easy to see him as just a straight-up villain.
Right, he's much more than that.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on. So, Chapter 17, Bridge 4. Now we're back to Kaladin, dealing with his own problem.
Oh yeah, always.
Struggling to train these bridgemen.
He's got to train them not just to fight, but to believe in themselves.
Yeah, and his journey as a leader is just as interesting, I think, as his journey to become a windrunner.
Yeah.
It really is. He's constantly battling those inner demons, but he's also trying to inspire people.
And he hits this major setback in this chapter. He loses control of his powers during a high storm,
Oh, right.
and he puts himself and all the bridgemen in danger.
Yeah.
Really reminds us that even with all this strength, he's still human. He's still vulnerable.
And I think that vulnerability makes him that much more relatable
I agree.
to us. All right, Chapter 18, 10 Heartbeats. Now we're back to Shallan, going deeper into Jasna's research.
She uncovers some pretty startling information about the Voidbringers and how they're connected to Urethru, that legendary home of the Knights Radiant.
So the pieces are starting to come together, but I bet there are still lots of secrets.
Oh, there are many. And as she gets closer to the truth, she also gets closer to uncovering her own past, which is intertwined with the Voidbringers in a way that she never could have imagined.
And that's what I love about Sanderson. It's those personal stories woven into these huge world-altering events.
It's masterful. And then in chapters 19 and 20, the Rift, and then we have the interlude, the Tower, we see some major turning points for both Kaladin and Shallan.
Big moments. Okay, what happens?
Kaladin finally accepts his role as a Windrunner, embraces his powers and the responsibility that comes with that. He swears the first ideal of the Windrunners, which is a huge step for him.
And Shallan, what's her moment?
She confronts the truth about her past, faces this traumatic memory that she's been pushing down for years, and it's through this that she's actually able to access her full potential as a Lightweaver.
It's like they're both shedding those old selves, finally embracing their destinies. But not without pain.
Right? Big sacrifices. And their journeys aren't over. These last few chapters of Words of Radiance really ratchet up the tension as everything comes together for this final showdown.
Yeah, the climax of this book, it's amazing.
It is.
The Everstorm comes back. You've got the battle between the Alethi and the Parshendi.
Yeah.
Urethra is discovered.
It's madness. It's a whirlwind.
It really is. And even amidst all that, you still get these amazing moments of character growth.
Absolutely.
Kaladin, he confronts Seth.
Right.
That's a battle that really tests both of them. And Shallan uses her powers to protect the people that she cares about,
Yeah.
proving that she's more than just a liar and a thief.
Yes, so much more.
And then Dalinar, he finally embraces his destiny,
Yeah.
accepts that role as the leader, the one who's going to unite the Alethi and get them ready for this war against the Voidbringers.
He's the one.
It's such a satisfying ending, but it does leave you with so many questions. What's going to happen to Szeth?
Right.
He's captured by Nail now. How's Urethra going to change things?
Yeah.
What are our heroes going to do?
Right. What's next for them?
I guess those are questions for another deep dive.
Yeah.
But for now, I want to thank you for walking us through this incredible book.
My pleasure.
You've given us a whole new perspective on Words of Radiance. And to our listener, I hope you have a new appreciation for this book.
I hope so.
And to you, dear listener, we encourage you to keep exploring.
Yes.
Delve deeper into the Cosmere, all the mysteries and magic that it holds. Share your thoughts, your theories with other fans, because the journey doesn't really end.
Never ends.
This has been The Deep Dive, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.